If you like this book, you should try these. Welcome to my next installment. Let's get into these books. Hey guys, it's been a while since I've done one of these if you like this, try this kind of video, and I decided it's about time. As many of you guys know, I have a hard time just comparing one book to another because no book is exactly similar to any other book. So what I've done for this video is something that I've done in the past. I divvied up my recommendations into 3 categories based off of how they are related. What makes them similar? So I'm going to go into that today. So let's get into these recommendations. So the first category I'm going to call is superficial likeness. So these are books that kind of superficially look the same or feel the same or are in the same category. Kind of like a blueberry and a purple grape. They're kind of both fruits, and they're both kind of circular and like a bluish purple color, but they're not exactly the same. So our first pairing for this category is going to be the book Blind Sight by Peter Watts, which I'm going to pair with Madness Season by C.S. Friedman. These books are superficially similar because they both deal with space vampires, which is not something I see done very often. The next pairing is going to be City of Golden Shadow by Tad Williams, which I'm going to pair with Moxieland by Lauren Bukes. Both of these deal with a crime syndicate, a VR adventure gone wrong, and both of them happen to take place in South Africa. So they are both very superficially like each other. The next one I'm going to pair together is kind of a stretch, but hear me out. I'm going to pair the YA Brandon Sanderson Skyward series with Shards of Earth by Adrian Tchaikovsky. Now hear me out. Both of these deal with a malevolent creature that's located in the dimension between space. And both of them deal with the main plot of the story, are all about discovering these creatures and what it is they do, especially because most of them end up destroying human or planet alike. It counts. It totally does. The last pairing that I have in this section is going to be Aurora by Kim Stanley Robinson, paired with Generation Ship by Michael Mamet. Both of these are really intriguing Generation Ship stories dealing with each of the people on the Generation Ship, like sort of emotionally coming to terms with the end of their journey and then what they do at the end of it. Each of them has a very different perspective on the end, but they were both so very interesting to compare. So I have to pair these together. All right, let's move on to the next category, which I'm going to call the theme pairings. Okay, these are going to be books that both deal with the same themes, but they're very different books. So think of this like cheese and yogurt. They're both dairy products, but they're still very different, and you put them on very different meals, right? So the first one in this category is going to be Incandescence by Greg Egan, and I'm going to pair this one with Children of Time by Adrian Tchaikovsky. Both of these are dealing with the reinvention of technology or physics or fundamental understanding of our world, but they go about it in an alternate pathway to land on the same general concept. And I think that both of these books did that very differently, but very well. Then I'm going to pair Kim Stanley Robinson's Ministry for the Future with Critical Mass by Daniel Suarez. This is the second book to the Delta V series, which is the name of the first book. Both of these books really deal with this theme of How do we convincingly make people care about climate change and about global warming? And what would people caring look like? What would it look like in the future? Both of these books cover that theme and concept very well, but their answers are very different. So definitely something to check out if you're interested in that theme. Next, I'm going to pair another two books. We have Eversion by Alistair Reynolds, and I'm going to pair that with Lake of Darkness by Adam Roberts. Both of these books are very different, but they both deal with a very important high concept, hard sci-fi kind of story. And they both deal with a very similar theme or twist where the structure of the story is nothing is what it appears. That is true for both of these books. It is both high concept, and they are both really dealing with like some abnormal stretches of maybe outside of typical sci-fi comfort level. That's what I'm going to leave it there. I don't want to spoil either of these books, but if you've read them both, you know. Last in this category, I'm going to pair The Rig by Stephen Levy with Love Minus 80 by William McIntosh. These books deal with a really interesting future where death has been conquered and people who have died can come back, almost like waking up from cryosleep, but only some people get to come back, whether it's by social media voting, like it is in The Rig, or if it's for a bride sickle situation, like almost like a mail order bride. That's what happens in Love Minus 80. So these books deal with it in a different way, but they felt so similar, and they dealt with this theme and concept so similarly that I have to put this pairing here. So the last category is my vibes or feels category. This one deals with those books that, are very separate, but they tap into the same emotion. They elicit something from you that is similar. And maybe some of them have similar writing styles, or they deal with similar character problems in the same way. You'll see what I mean, but I'm trying to liken this to people who have a sweet tooth. So these books are as similar to cake and cookies, maybe, or cake and ice cream, which people often pair together, but they're very different, right? So let's see how I do with this category. To start off with, I'm going to go with John Wyndham's The Chrysalids, which I'm going to pair with Something Wicked This Way Comes by Ray Bradbury. These are they have the same vibe, feel, atmosphere. They're both coming of age stories, and they both have a moral or a theme that the author wants you to get out of these stories. And I felt like they came from the same sweet tooth craving, if you know what I mean. The next pairing I have is On Earth as It Is on TV, paired with How to Safely Live in a Sci-Fi Universe. Both of these books are a little bit parody. They're a little bit not taking themselves as seriously, but they both have some really interesting, deeper meaning, mental health and relationship kind of themes and vibes that they both just kind of fit into this category that I can't quite describe. So I'm definitely going to stick them in this category. I think they really work well together. Next is going to be a very abnormal one. This one I'm going to pair the Pattern Master series by Octavia Butler with The Gate to Women's Country by Sherry Tepper. Now, I realize that this is like an entire 4-book series that's paired with just a single standalone book, but both of these books kind of deal with people who have powers that are different by their sexes, and it's kind of hard to describe, but they both have kind of an unjust world, and you have to deal with your life in these unjust worlds. So I felt like these both scratched the same itch, but they're very, very different books. I think that obviously Octavia Butler's is just a little bit of a stronger one because there's more books in the series, but Sherry Tepper's Gate to Women's Country was very interesting, and it really just seemed to scratch that exact same itch that Octavia Butler sort of introduced. And last on this list is also going to be another weird one, and this is Caves of Steel by Isaac Asimov with Sundiver by David Brin. These are very different stories, but they both deal essentially with a old school, they make me feel like a black and white crime noir kind of a story. Now, Sundiver only deals with that for the first half of the story, and Caves of Steel, that's the entire story, but I really felt like there was some similar tastes here. And feel free to totally disagree with me down in the comment section below, but I really liked that old school black and white crime noir kind of a thing. And even especially in the David Brin story, we have like the detective getting all the suspects in the same room to kind of explain the entire process. And I felt that a little bit in the Caves of Steel as well. So I thought these were very similar. They were coming of the same kind of species, or the same itch, if you will. So that does it for today's If You Like This, Try This book recommendations list. You're going to have to let me know in the comment section down below what you think of some of these pairings. I know that some of them were a little bit of a stretch, and you'll have to let me know what you think of the categories. And until next time, you guys, I will see you in the next video. Happy reading!